Okay, so in the second part of today's lecture, I want to refer back to some of the Hinton and Horth areas, some of the key concepts they cover in one of the final chapters of their book, Understanding Social Media. And one of the big things that I want to hit on here is that there has been a drawing of different disciplinary research backgrounds towards mobile phones. So previously people had been either researching internet or sociology or whatever it might have been, but then mobile phones as a distinctive location of research as well. But what's happened is that and this is something that Jared Goggin and Larissa Horth have also previously noted. I think in 2009 they started talking about this. Is that mobile phones and internet and the associated disciplines that surround this type of activity are all coming together, and the term that they use is mobile media. So extending the concept of media to not just this consumption of sitting down and viewing a television screen or reading a paper or sitting on the internet or whatever, is indeed that we're taking our media with us now, and smartphones are enabling us or giving us this capacity to then take our media with us and interact in new and exciting ways. And so this is a key point to start to think about how people are producing media for these sorts of environments. In the first instance, there's something to be said about the concept of online and offline and how those two are beginning to collide or not be so distinct anymore. And I think this starts to impact on how we start to develop our social relationships and our social relationships with our geography as well. And we'll come back to that in the third part of the lecture around the concept of place and space. But for the time being, it's useful to concentrate on that moment between how mobile media is impacting our social relationships, and it's also impacting our social relationships with geography. So in a way to think about this is, as we just explored before, the concepts or the examples of Urban Spoon and Grindr especially. That's a great one to think about social relationships and location. So it's the sort of activity, or even Happen, the first example that we looked at. These are engaging in this concept of mobile media using location-based services through our smartphones to engage with other users in a specific geographical place. Now, for example, in a dating app, as let's call it a dating app, Grindr, we might be using that to find people for certain sorts of relationships, but at the same time, the backbone of this is that it's really determined by our location and our proximity to those other people. So not only is that one particular app changing how we're interacting with our geography around us, but the geography is then determining how we're developing our social relationships. What this leads us to is this concept of a distinct blurring between our offline and our online personas, and the way that Hinton and Horth describe it is around this concept of hybrid spaces. So they're neither online nor they're offline. They're this concept of a mix of hybridity between the two, significantly seen in the example of Grindr. So yes. Now, what I think we might do now is this week you've been asked to download Layer and explore the concept of augmented reality. So please, down below, we'll have the Layer written, a case study example just there. So please install that and go out and explore different areas using the Layer app. Really exciting to use this in cultural institutions, building on the work that we were talking about last week, cultural production, and how social media and mobile apps are shifting that concept. But then even more to think about this concept of place and space. And the third part of today's lecture, we'll come back and we'll explore that concept further between space and place.